Hey guys, Steph here. Welcome to the vlog. The title of this vlog is Pointless Perfection. So, I'm going to go back, way back. And I was in my other business, my very first business, in fact. And I had a dry line of products, basically products that would be sold on store shelves, water purification products and other things. So, for this particular line, I decided to design the labels myself, and I had graphic design training, so I figured why not, I'll leverage my skills. So I started working on the labels, and I kept working on the labels, and I kept working on the labels, and my partner would come to me, Steph, when are the products going to be out? I said, well, I'm working on the labels, they're almost there. And he would look at the labels and he would say to me, labels look pretty good. I said, yeah, well, there's a couple of things here I don't like, you know. So a week would pass, a second week would pass, a third week would pass, fourth week would pass. So then the partner would be saying, hey, come on, Steph, let's go, let's get these labels on. I'd be like, well, you know, it's not quite there, I got more work, you know, I'm almost got it. And it was becoming an obsessive thing for me to get just a perfect font, just a perfect placement. We're talking moving an image by millimeters and so forth. And my partner would say, you got to sell, we got to sell, we got to sell. We can't keep designing these things because we won't make any money. And he had a very good point. And the point of this vlog, Pointless Perfection, is to know when to stop. When to stop and to put the product out, whether it be a piece of software, a product line you're putting out, an article you're writing, a video vlog that you're doing. There comes the point where you have to just cut it off. And reminds me of very good advice I got from a highly experienced graphic designer. And he told me just that. He was talking about image correction and layout, in terms of layout for ads and so forth, websites. And he was saying, you know, at some point you just got to let it go. You know, you could keep tweaking and tweaking and tweaking and tweaking, and it can go on forever. So at some point you just got to accept where it is and let it go. Because a lot of times your perceptions about whether something is just right or not is very emotional. It could change from day to day, hour to hour. So you got to use the good enough principle. Meaning, you got to take the product to the point where it's just good enough, it looks pro, it's sharp, it gets the job done, and just get it out. Just get it out into the marketplace. Because what you'll find a lot of times that what you perceive as being great and so forth may not be perceived as being great by the general public, or things that you thought weren't so great, a lot of people think are great. I can think of many examples in music where the artist thought that this song would be the hit and turned out to be this song, it was the hit. And in fact, I've heard more than one very big artist, big musicians say some of their most popular songs. Literally, I hate that song, but it sells so well. So you never know. So you just got to get it to a level of professionalism, if you will. If you're writing software, you're building a website, you're designing labels. You just got to get it out there so it's pretty good. It's at a professional level, if you will, and just let the chips fall. Let the market decide whether or not it is really good. Brings the last point to this vlog is that even if you have the perfect label, the perfect looking website, it doesn't really guarantee whether or not your product or your service will sell. And the website and the label and the imagery and the message and all this kind of stuff helps and can drive it. But at the end of the day, if the product is not good or the market is not ready for the product, no matter how much effort you put into marketing or tweaking of the web UI or of the marketing message or the videos, it isn't going to help. At the end of the day, the product has to appeal to the audience. So again, it's one of my problems where I get caught up in, I'm a bit of an obsessive. I would get caught up in code cleanliness. So for instance, when I was actively writing a lot of Java back in the day, and I remember at one point I was really getting into database design and optimizations. And then I was really getting into the middle layer in terms of writing Java code that was efficient in terms of extracting the data from the database. And I would go into all kinds of painful details about, how the best approach is depending on the type of data set you were pulling out. And it got silly because at the end of the day, all this extra work that I was doing would not actually impact anything in any real way unless the volume got sick huge. That's what happens a lot of times. A lot of times with apps, for most people these days, computers are so powerful, programming languages and APIs and frameworks are so refined these days relative to just 10 years ago, that all these elements combined, the need for code optimization for 99% of applications is it's not really there because things are just so fast. So even if you have sloppy code, it will probably run pretty good. It will probably run pretty good. So I'm not saying write sloppy code, but I wouldn't get obsessed by it because you can always go back to your code if the app starts growing and you get lucky and your app starts really growing and you're starting to see performance hits. You can always go back and refactor aspects of the code base that are slowing it down, or you can just put more hardware on it, etc., etc., etc. So that's it. Pointless perfection. Don't get yourself caught up in it. I get caught up in it. You see all these vloggers on YouTube, and I do it. They get caught up with the sound or the video quality. I got to get this new camera because it's just a little bit sharper. And at the end of the day, as long as you get decent video and pretty clear audio, you're good. All right. Ciao.